The Luckiest Man in America, 2024. This is a strange film. I sort of get it, but I wasn't really with it 100%. Well, firstly, it has a Rotten Tomato score of 67 and an IMDb score of 57. So it's in the so-so category. It's okay, I guess. I perhaps like it more than the audiences of either of those, scoring medium, but not that much more. Um, so it's to start with, I thought, "Is this based on a true story?" It seems like it. Probably. Since Salt Path since the Salt Path blew up, I'm not sure if it's worth checking when a film is says it's based on truth. I mean, what is dramatized truth given what's been going on with that particular film? Um, who knows? I mean, the trouble is there are people who will seek to deceive, and that is actually the concept behind this film because it's a semi-fictionalized account. It's actually described as a thriller. That's feels over-egged, I think. I mean, sure, there's suspense. There is suspense in lots of films. There's excitement, but thriller, if it is a thriller, hmm, drama, yes. Yeah, it's definitely a drama. Thriller, it's taking it one step up from what I think it is. But the the thing about the trailer, I've just watched it again. I saw the film, started watching the film about this time yesterday. Today I saw the trailer and it says the most infamous game show um, scandal in history. And I thought, surely not. I mean, for a start, there was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That was a full on scandal. I mean, if you don't know that, it's the UK version of the show which it was conceived in the UK. Well, there's some debate about that even, I gather. But um, in the middle of 1998, that film, that game show launched on ITV. It was really popular. It had 19 million viewers within about 6 months. But in September 2001, there was what I would describe, I don't know if it was called this, I think it was just called the major scandal because of the contestant involved. But Coughgate, there was a particular episode on the 9th of September 2001, and it led to prosecution. I mean, it was actually, I think it was a conviction. It was a serious penalty, suspended prison sentence, and there were some claims at a later stage, such as from journalist John Ronson, that suggested that the participant who was given a suspended jail sentence might be innocent. I think it was to do with when coughing is mentioned, people do cough, pensioners apparently. I mean, that was the thing about this story. But that is a tangent anyway. Going on this story, in some ways there are a lot of similarities to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. In 2000, Judith Keppel actually legitimately won £1 million on that program. On press, Press for Luck or whatever it was called, something like that. It was very different. I mean, the like about 5 squares, it seemed really, I mean, it is antiquated. I mean, like all the, um, screen, like when you saw the television, you thought, "Hmm, when would you place this?" And my guesses were from late 70s to mid 80s. I thought that sort of era. I mean, the biggest clues were it's definitely before the World Wide Web and before cellular devices, cell phones being popular. There were trim phones edging towards the early 80s, I would say, and VCRs, which became much more popular by the mid 80s than they were in the late 70s. So I was thinking, yeah, let's go for towards the mid 80s. Well, I looked it up and it turns out it's 1984, May 1984, when this episode happened. And it was the chap in question, you see at the start of this film, chooses, he comes up with a name that turns out isn't his actual name. He gets disqualified in the vetting, and then for some reason, perhaps because the manager notices the ice cream van that corroborates with the story he gave, he gives him a chance and he says, "Okay, let's let him in." Only to later just explain this because I think this is absolutely pitiful and horrific that this same manager, when he's under pressure for the lack of vetting, pushes his one of his colleagues under the bus, metaphorically, as in he says, "Oh, it's Chuck who didn't do the vetting," so they search out Chuck, and Chuck, well, you see, he's obviously angry at being like dumped into this mess, given what he's done. I mean, for a start, he's been asked by this particular manager to investigate in real time whilst the game show's ongoing, break into this contestant's ice cream van to look for clues to see if he is a grifter, if he is actually a con. And he finds loads of VCRs. So the VCR is the thing that, yeah, fits in really that 80, very popular in 1984. People were recording. Strangely enough, I didn't really start using VCR until 10 years later, really. The 90s, I think I was using VCR a lot. My my folks, when I was at home, they didn't. I mean, I'd record things on audio tapes in the 70s and 80s, and just rely on the sound. But um, he's been recording a lot of Press Your Luck, and that seems to be. I mean, there's all these ideas that, oh, he doesn't seem like an ordinary contestant. He's not doing it the right way. It's just like there's 5 screens that he picks on, and he gets accused of counting cards as if it's like, no, Las Vegas, casino. I mean, there's, like, some comparisons in terms of it being a thriller. Films like 21, if you've seen that. When's that? 2008, 21, that's an interesting film. Um, and, oh, yeah, I think The Hangover did some card counting. I there's probably loads of films with card counting, but this is a number of screens, and this contestants memorize them, and so accusing him of being a grifter seems a bit unfair in some respects. And yet, on the other side, I mean, there's this whole blame game. He's like what happens during this game, most people seem to give up somewhere between, they earn 4,000, 5,000, perhaps go up to 14,000, I think. Um, Now he's gone 16,000, gone 20,000, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, goes up to 70,000. And this is break, and all hell breaks loose. All the recriminations. I mean, how come he's got through? How come he didn't get vetted? The Who would work in television, given if this is anything like the reality? The amount of blame going on between people, the amount of saying, "No, you're not gonna, your job's not gonna last." Heads will roll over. Okay, tens of thousands in 1984. That's considerably more than it is. I think I it's something like 330,000 in 2024 terms, this amount of money. So that is a substantial amount of money in comparison. But even so, even if 110,000 or whatever it is, the total amount, in today's terms, you could perhaps buy a house in um, outside London. You'd even have trouble buying a house in London, the southeast, for that amount of money. So it is a lot of money. It definitely is a lot of money. I mean, I don't think anyone would say would pass on that amount of money if it was on offer. But for a game show, is it enough to take down a network? It just felt a bit um, over-egged, a bit too much. And I didn't really also get the time frame because it felt like the game show was extended to 2 to 3 days. I mean, they don't really show people sleeping, but it seems like it lasted into a second or third day. There's like, if it if it was 72, 48, 72 hours, everyone would be totally disheveled. They didn't seem to go home. Uh, I don't know. It just felt like ambiguous, what was happening, the sort of time out between the games. And at one point, um, Michael, the contestant, escapes from the studio. He goes into the parking lot. The security there's a lot of security. It's almost like that's part of the thriller gambit, as in they're menacing, they're talking about cornering the suspect behind, and all he does is escape back into the television studios. But he goes into the wrong studio and gets interviewed by a host of an evening sort of like talk show, something like, well, in the UK, it'd be something like Jonathan Ross. I suppose in America, it would be David Letterman. I don't know, Jay Leno. I'm not familiar with it all, but it feels like the worst thing is at one point this Michael says to a couple of the young younger employees, the interns, it makes a suggestion about scamming the bank. It seems. I don't know. There's nothing really to pin on him. Um, well, you can read about him afterwards, and then you can figure out. Um, I mean, I wouldn't say he was the luckiest man in America, given things, but read up about him yourself afterwards. But there was the way the film is driven is a bit like Saturday Night 2024. There's similar pressure tactics. Um, I mean, then it was the 90 minutes, like we're gonna go or there's no show. Stakes are high. That's the thrill element. In this, it's like finding out before this contestant cleans out the studio for whatever money it's worth. Um, there's, ah, you know, the I don't know, there's some things that feel just like imaginings, possible dream sequences, slightly beyond plausible. And I did start wondering, was this actually based on reality? At the end, you do see the actual clip from the program it was that inspired it, but it is described as a semi-fictionalized account. And Paul Walter Hauser plays Michael Larson, the protagonist in this film. The There's Peter Tomarkin, I think, played by Walter Goggins, and he's the compere, the presenter. There's Bill Carruthers. He's the manager or program manager, I guess. David Stathern, and Maisie Williams is like Sylvia, who's like perhaps a bit of a gopher. I mean, she collects him, and she's worried about her job because of all that's happening. I can't see why anyone's to blame just because he might be trying to defraud a game show. But this film was actually first I've read this film was conceived or was announced that it was gonna be created back in 2000, August 2000, and nearly it's taken nearly a quarter of a century before, um, I'm watching it now. I mean, it was released last year, I guess, um, published, so such a long time. Even the Butterfly Effect only was delayed about 7 years, you know, in whatever, problems led to that being stalled, and I can understand why in some ways, but this the only thing the end scene I found the last scene before the credits was quite sweet, I thought. The people watching the game show, but possibly inconclusive as well. I don't know what the end of that was supposed to signify, because it almost contradicts the phone calls that go on during this film. Um, this protagonist actually makes phone calls even though he's not allowed, and it's not clear why even calls are not allowed. I mean, how? It isn't even like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or one of those game shows where you ask questions, really complex general knowledge or specialist subject conversations. I mean, say Mastermind, you would not want to allow someone to use the phone, but in something like this, I didn't really get it. So all of this is a bit messy, a bit fast and loose, and my main credit towards this film, where I'd give it credit, was the fact that it is, if it is suspense, if it's that kind of thriller drama, is that there's no violence in terms of, you know, major blows. You know, people aren't acting out in a very violent way. So yeah, I'll give it that. It, the tension is all in the power of suggestion as such. So I'm going to score this 7, just 7.0 out of 10. Um, it's okay. There's so many questions. I don't know. I just find I'd probably have to look up more about the actual original this is based on. But in a way, I don't know. It's very strange. Um, it, um, Yeah, uh, uh, I'd love to know your thoughts about it. I'll leave it at that. If you like this review, please hit the like. Thanks if you subscribe. Please hit the notification buttons. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks. Bye for now.